First up on our docket is a quick consent agenda item. That is the confirmation of Board of Visitors representatives to the university's various governing boards. Now, that resolution is found on page 2 and 3 of your committee book. No discussion is required here since the resolution is simply a confirmation of the BOV representatives for each of these university-related foundations. I ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. We now hear a brief fundraising progress report from Mark and our guest presenter, Leah Blue. Mark?
Thank you, John. So we have a shorter meeting today, so I'm going to jump right into it. There is 3 things I plan to talk about today. One is a fundraising update report for the last fiscal year and also so far this fiscal year and the end of the Honor the Future campaign. Second, we're going to have a presentation from Leah Blue, who is the director of our Piedmont Scholars Program. And then also we have a commending resolution here, which you'll hear more about, and obviously happy to take any questions from anyone in the room. So as we look at last fiscal year, we had a tremendous fiscal year last year. It was the 8th year in a row that we surpassed $500 million in total commitments and ended up with $886 million in total commitments for the fiscal year, which is the highest number that we've ever had in the university's history. That was up 43% over the year before, and that was up about 59% over our 5-year run rate on total commitments. The last time we had been in the 800 range was in 2019, which was the year that we had the launch of the capital campaign, and that was 849. That was also a year where we had 2 gifts of $100 million or more. We also, as I mentioned, had the launch of the campaign and a national championship in basketball. So this year we did not have a national championship in basketball, did not have a $100 million gift. So the fact that we did this despite all the generosity across grounds was pretty amazing. As you look at philanthropic cash flow, for those of you who are new to the board or new to this meeting, philanthropic cash flow is the amount in the door, whether it be through annual gifts, pledge payments, bequests that we have received. So this is an all-in cash number. We had $470 million last year in cash. That was a 14% increase year over year. And it was actually our second highest year for cash. The only time we have surpassed that number in cash was the year that Mrs. Ader generously gave us $50 million in cash for the Center for the Arts. What was driving this? Obviously, a lot of generosity across the grounds at the schools, units, and at the broader university. We ended up having 964 gifts of $100,000 or more last year, and 149 gifts of $1 million or more. So if you remember back a year prior, fiscal year 24 was the first time we had ever as a university crossed 100 gifts of $1 million or more in a year, and we surpassed that number by about 50% last year. So it was a great success, and obviously people have been very generous. Beyond the fundraising numbers, we also had a few other numbers that were record-breaking for last year. As you'll remember, in the February meeting, I announced that we had surpassed 250,000 unique donors to the campaign. We had 8,000 more individuals make gifts before the end of the fiscal year. So we ended the campaign with 258,000 unique donors compared to an alumni base of about 275,000. This was also the 3rd year in a row where we've seen a growth in donors, and we've talked about this before, where institutions around the country are seeing a decline in the actual number of donors, but an increase in the size of the gift. This was the 3rd year in a row we've seen growth, and we'd hit our high water mark of 84,000 unique gifts last year, and 50,000 of those came from alumni. We also had the 4th year giving campaign, which obviously our students participated in. We ended the campaign with 54% of the class giving this year, which is a total of 2,400 gifts. Beyond the generosity of our alumni and friends, a lot of this was also being driven by a lot of great work from a marketing and communications perspective across grounds. Many of you know Cindy Frederick, who works on our team. runs our event and also engagement experiences team. One of the things we really focused on this year was how do we drive a lot more engagement of attendance at events. It was the last year of the campaign. We wanted to have a lot more hype, both at regional events and also here on grounds. If you look at online events and events we had, for example, Mary Kate, I see Mary Kate here. We had an event for Think Again through the Karsh Institute, which had an online registration option. I think we had about a little under 500 people attend that event. But overall, we had 18,000, we had an 18% increase in online events, which was 14,000 registrations over 12,000 the year before. We also we had 6 large-scale events around the country in different markets, with kind of a road show for the end of the campaign. We had about 2,700 people attend those events, so each one of those 6 events averaged about 450 people per event. So overall last year, I think we were very successful, a lot of hard work by a lot of people. We ended up having just under 60,000 people attend different events that were hosted by the university for fundraising purposes. In closing on the fundraising side of things, I will say we did close the capital campaign on June 30th. The total fundraising amount was $6.11 billion, so that was 122% over the $5 billion goal. And if any of you are as competitive as I am, that puts us in the 4th largest public campaign that's ever been completed. The others were on the West Coast. This was the first on the East Coast that had crossed the $6 billion mark. So obviously everyone's excited about that. If you look in your board book, there's also additional details about the schools and units and their performance in the overall campaign. We had 14 schools and units surpass their goals, a large majority of them, and half of those surpassed by about 30% of their overall goal. Transitioning to fiscal year 26, which obviously started on July 1st. Obviously, we're only 2 months into the year, but we're seeing good progress since July 1. As of this week, we've had $90 million in commitments across grounds since July 1. That is 28% above where we were at this point last year. We also have had about $45 million in cash, which is in alignment with, again, where we were at this point last year. So that has been made up of gifts all across the grounds. We had about 95 gifts of $100,000 or more, which is tracking a little under 20% ahead of last year. And also gifts of $1 million or more are on track as well. I do want to mention the Cavalier Fund. As all of you know, we still have matching funds associated with the Cavalier Fund. All of the matching funds for bicentennial scholarships and bicentennial professorships have been exhausted, but there is $3 million left in the Cavalier Fund matching program. We've had about $20 million committed or utilized in match so far, which I know Kenyon is here, and we talked about this earlier this week. A lot of energy around this, particularly with our current parents. We've had 46 endowments created for that, and when this is done and all the matching funds are utilized, we will be able to help, and gifts are paid off, we should be able to help about 1,500 to 2,000 students a year participate in engagement-related activities around ground, students who are on financial aid. So that is continuing to go well. As we look at other things for the fiscal year, a couple things that I want to bring attention to. Obviously, we still have a lot of events that we're going to be planning. The biggest one in the short term is the campaign celebration, which is on October 11th, that will be here on grounds. Each one of you was invited to that. We hope you can attend. Many of our alumni and donors will be back, though we're still working out some of the details of the run of show for the evening, but I will say there'll be many people from around grounds who will be included, from students to coaches to faculty, deans, and others involved in the evening. The second thing, and I also mentioned that a number of our schools and units are also having events leading up to that night as well. The second thing I wanted to mention was we are having a greater focus on corporate giving and really developing a strategy for that. Also around foundations, I would say if there was one thing in this campaign which we probably weren't as strong on was how do we leverage corporate support for the university. It's been something that has been a challenge at the university for a while, but we have some new people we've hired who are great, working very closely with Lori McMahon's office, and we'll be sharing more in upcoming meetings, but trying to get that flywheel going now, particularly with the challenges that are going on with research funding, so that it is in a strong position for the next campaign. Third, while we just ended the campaign on June 30, as Doug Whitmore and I were talking about earlier, we're always in fundraising mode, and some of the operational work for the future of this campaign we already started a couple years ago. For example, we had launched our CRM transition about 3 years ago. That will be done in October, which is a grounds-wide technology overhaul in preparation for the future. We have a variety of other operational things that are ready. In the coming months, with conversations with President Mahoney and others, we will have conversations about where we go from here, but obviously our deans and our staff are still very much focused on how we can continue to raise revenues for the university, but are taking a brief pause here to make sure we're saying thank you to those who were very generous during the On the Future campaign. The last thing I wanted to mention before I introduce our guest, while it's not probably technically in this committee, all of you know that my role expanded here this summer with the expansion of state government relations, moving into portfolio. Most of my comments are on advancement because this is the advancement committee meeting, but we have that transition started on July 1. Special thank you to Colette Sheehy, Penny Cabanis, JJ, others for their help over the end of the fiscal year and a lot of job shadowing that went on. President Ryan had asked Augie Morelli and I to lead the efforts for the 6-year plan and the Op 6 meeting here this summer, even before the transition. Special thank you to Penny Cabanis for all of her great work of getting the team ready to go to Richmond. So that has been executed. We also have been working with President Mahoney to introduce him to elected officials and other folks in Richmond since his appointment, and obviously planning for advocacy as we lead into the session. But happy to answer any questions. But before jumping to that, I do want to make sure we have time for our guest who's here today. I'd like to introduce Leah Blue. Leah is the Director of Community College Partnerships for the university in the Office of Enrollment, works very closely with Joy Pugh and also with Steve Farmer. She was raised in Wyethville, Virginia, and is also a proud graduate of a Virginia community college as well. She leads the Piedmont Scholars Program for the university, and these are students who are, and other students who are transferring from PVCC. Give you a little bit of background about the Piedmont Scholars Program and how it was launched. 5 years ago, an anonymous donor stepped forward who wanted to make a gift, and I say gift because it was not a commitment, it was cash gift, to launch a better transition relationship between PVCC and UVA. These students receive full scholarships who are coming over as part of the Piedmont Scholars Program. We were able to match $4 million of that gift with the Bicentennial Scholarship Fund, so it created an $8 million endowment. The other $1 million was used for operational expenses. That same donor you may have read here this week in UVA Today stepped forward this summer and added another $5 million to the program, which was essentially the last gift we were able to match in the Bicentennial Scholarship Program. So this program now has about a $16-17 million endowment, plus operational funds for expenditures through the year. And so Leah has been an unbelievable partner with us in executing this program. I believe we've had a little over 45 students.
46.
46 students participate. So Leah, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Mark. Good afternoon. It's truly a pleasure to be here with you today to share the transformative impact of the Piedmont Scholars Program. I'm incredibly grateful for your time and attention and for the opportunity to speak about the program and the students that I'm so deeply passionate about. I also want to express my sincere appreciation to the anonymous friend whose generosity made it possible for me to step into this role. Because of that support, I've had the privilege to meet so many exceptional and driven students whose journeys begin at the Virginia Community College, specifically Piedmont Virginia Community College. The Piedmont Scholars Program is a donor-supported initiative that encourages transfer students from Piedmont Virginia Community College as they prepare, apply, and transition to UVA. These are students who often arrive at PVCC having already faced significant obstacles, balancing jobs, caregiving responsibilities, health challenges, and in many cases, limited access to housing and food. And yet, through resilience, persistence, and talent, they've earned admission to UVA. And what they bring with them is remarkable. They bring life experience, maturity, perspective, and a deep sense of purpose. But what truly transforms the trajectory of these students is the belief behind this program. They believe that someone out there cares. Someone believes in them so much that they helped create this program 5 years ago. It's a privilege to walk alongside these students on their journey, to encourage them, to celebrate their victories, and to witness the powerful moments when they recognize just how far they've come and the impact that they've made. With the Piedmont Scholars Program, financial stress is significantly reduced, freeing students to be their best. And through opportunities such as our Transfer Achievement Celebration and initiatives like the Summer Advancement Program, scholars begin building relationships with their faculty, advisors, and peers well before they begin their fall semester here. These early intentional connections help them feel not just prepared, but welcomed. One of the most striking shifts that I've seen is in student confidence. It's an ongoing challenge for many transfer students stepping into an elite academic environment, often with imposter syndrome. This program has empowered scholars to engage fully and confidently in both academic and social settings. Their presence is now so integral that it's difficult to envision our university community without them. The Piedmont Scholars are performing at high academic levels. They're actively involved in student organizations, research, leadership programs, study abroad programs, and service. Many have engaged in ways to share their stories with the community or have participated in programs and events inspiring those around them and prospective transfer students. The Piedmont Scholars are shining examples of what happens when we remove barriers and create the space for their potential to soar. But the impact of this program reaches far beyond just these individual students. The effects of this program are rippling outward. For all the transfer students at UVA, the presence, visibility, and interactions of the Piedmont Scholars shift the culture around transfer students, creating a greater sense of community, belonging, and recognition. It's encouraged broader support structures and opportunities for the entire transfer population. For the Virginia Community College system, the message sent by this program has resonated deeply across the VCCS. It tells the VCCS students, the faculty and advisors there, that UVA is making transfer a priority. And this has helped strengthen our relationships between UVA and the community colleges throughout the state and building more transparency and trust in the transfer process. For the institution, the Piedmont Scholars Program is helping UVA fulfill its mission as a public university to be a place of opportunity and excellence for Virginians from all backgrounds. It's making our university stronger and more representative of the talent within our local community and across the Commonwealth. This is not just a story of academic success, it's a story of talent fully realized when given the right stage to shine. So again, I want to extend my deep appreciation to the friend whose generosity and to the university's leadership whose vision made this Piedmont Scholars Program possible. Thank you for continuing to demonstrate a deep commitment to making UVA accessible to talented students from all across the Commonwealth, no matter where they begin their journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. And I think I would be remiss if I didn't add that Quanah Dennis, was he our first or one of our first?
He was in our first cohort.
Quanah Dennis, who you've been here before for board meetings, was in our first cohort of Piedmont Scholars, and he's now on the search committee for the next president. So pretty exciting. But again, normally we would have the donor come. The donor asked not to come because he wants to remain anonymous. And so Leah, thank you for being with us. Before Leah leaves, any questions for Leah about Piedmont Scholars or transfer students in general? Thank you, Leah.
Thank you, Mark.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report. Any questions, feel free, or we can move on to the next portion of the meeting.
Well, thank you, Leah and Mark. Thank you for the report. Our final action item is a commending resolution for Peter M. Grant II, recognizing his incredible service as chairman of the university's Honor the Future campaign. I'd like to invite Marvin Gilliam to read the commending resolution. Marvin?
I first met Peter 51 years and 3 weeks ago. Move-in day, Eccles dorm, first year. So we've known each other for a while. And it's when Mark asked me to read this, I consider it a privilege and an honor. And here goes. Whereas Peter M. Grant II took a BA degree from the College of Arts and Sciences in 1978 and a MBA from the Darden School of Business in 1986. And whereas Mr. Grant is the founding partner of Anchormark Holdings LLC, a Virginia-based private equity firm, and whereas Mr. Grant and his wife Colleen are longtime generous benefactors of the university and whose philanthropy has supported a wide range of priorities across grounds. And whereas the Grants instilled their deep commitment to the university in their 4 children, all of whom earned degrees from UVA. And whereas Mr. Grant has given exemplary service as a volunteer leader across multiple university boards and foundations. And whereas Mr. Grant has served with distinction as chairman of the university's Honor the Future campaign, the largest ever fundraising initiative in the university's history. And whereas under Mr. Grant's leadership, the campaign exceeded its $5 billion goal 18 months ahead of schedule and went on to raise a record $6.1 billion from more than 258,000 unique donors worldwide. And whereas this historic achievement created hundreds of new endowed scholarships and professorships, advanced key academic and research priorities, and funded transformative capital projects at the university. And whereas Mr. Grant's vision, generosity, and steadfast service have elevated the university and will benefit generations of students, faculty, and citizens of the Commonwealth in perpetuity. Resolved, the Board of Visitors expresses its deepest gratitude to Peter M. Grant II for his exemplary leadership, dedication, and lasting contributions to the success of the Honor the Future campaign and to the University of Virginia.
Thank you, Marvin.
Thank you, Marvin. I never would have guessed.
Not 51 years ago.
Well, Marvin, thank you, and Peter, we all owe you, and generations that haven't even been here yet owe you a significant debt of gratitude. Again, thank you for your leadership. Obviously, we don't need a second since everybody stood up. Okay. Before we close the meeting, are there any other comments? Sir.
Can I ask one technical question, just because it's a moment of celebration? Does the money raised in the Honor of the Future campaign essentially go dollar for dollar into the endowment? Is that correct way to think about it? Or just curious. I should know the answer.
No, thanks, Doug. I'm happy to send you the breakdown. So if you think about the $6 billion that was committed during the campaign, I think about, if my numbers are right, I think about 2.3 was committed towards the endowment. Then you have some that went to capital projects,
Right.
obviously that's expendable, and then current needs around the ground. So I think about 2.2 of it was committed.
Thank you. Awesome.
Any other questions? Being none, thank you to everyone. This concludes the meeting of the Advancement Committee. And we will move into Buildings and Grounds in 4 minutes. I hope.
who are one. Yes, mechanically.
Problem with the pausing. Problem with the pausing.
Yeah.
It's just dumb. Why make it so political? What's the? How's your son doing? Squash? State, that's not serious.
It's not me.
Normally we have. You know what's wrong? I compete with you. Nothing. Thanks, Dad.
Chairman, we're ready whenever you are.
Well, we have to start, can't go before 2.
Okay, well, what's your way to do?
Two and a half more minutes.
So much can you get done in 2.5 minutes?
Multitasking.
Is that real? Is that true? We've kind of had a subject before.
JJ,
Yes?
I'm going to do this a little bit differently than what we've got. I'm going to go to the consent items right away.
Okay, perfect.
We didn't play our first team defense the entire preseason. We got tired. And then played Aaron Rotunda didn't play Cincinnati.
Well, it's 2 o'clock, and I'd like to call the Building and Grounds Committee meeting to order. I'd like to give a warm welcome to Lois Stanley, who has joined UVA as the Senior Vice President for Operations. She has quite a job. She'll oversee will oversee the university's capital program among a number of other functions. You'll hear more about that from JJ a little bit later. Now the meeting agenda. We're going to have some consent agenda items that JJ will present. We're going to deal with the Cochran House, plaques for U-Haul, naming of newly acquired property over at Sycamore Hill. Then action items from Alice, discussion of action items. Before the consent agenda, I'd like to share some thoughts about a tour I made yesterday, and particularly a discussion of my view on the Center for the Arts building that there has been a great deal of discussion centered around. I would hope that in the near future, each member of Buildings and Grounds gets the opportunity to drive the way I did and see the amount of work underway. It kind of reminds me of a town in Texas that's coming out of the ground from dirt to a city in a couple of years. So, Don, I don't know how if everyone needs to meet Don. Don we've got more cranes in the air than we do in Houston. I thank you and Alice for taking me around yesterday, and a big thanks for the work that you're doing, for sure.
Thank you. For both of us.
Quite amazing at a university has that much going on. So, we'll start, excuse me, just a minute. The action items, excuse me, folks. JJ, do you want to go ahead and introduce Lois?
Actually, I'd like to start with the consent agenda items first. Is that okay?
Yeah, my batteries just went out, sorry.
Perfect timing for me to start talking.
Wasn't a timing, go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So for your consideration today, we have 3 items on the consent agenda. I'll move very quickly. I am a visual learner. The first is a request to demolish the Cochran House. This actually sits right behind the Ivy Mountain Orthopedic Center. It currently houses several of our safety and security assets. As you know, you approved the renovation and centralization of all safety and security assets to Zemer Hall. We're hoping in the spring to bring you there to do the ribbon cutting for that event. Based on the age of the facility and the condition, it is our recommendation that we go ahead and demolish it. It has a series of both environmental and structural issues. I'm going to go right through the 3 consent items, and if there are any questions, please stop me. The next item is approval of the University Hall commemorative plaque. By way of background, we demolished this facility in 2019. For those of you that are Star Wars fans, it literally looked like the Millennium Falcon going down. We have video if any of you are still interested. To proceed with the demolition in 2019, though, the Department of Historic Resources required us, 1, to do comprehensive documentation, which Alice's team completed in 2018, and the second was to do a commemorative plaque. The installation of the plaque is within the athletics master plan, and the plaque will be placed along the athletics promenade, as shown in the right bottom part of the slide. All of this was vetted by the namings committee as well. The last one, and again, a deep thanks to many members of the board. We were successful on August 1st in the acquisition of the formerly known FEI property. If you drive by it now on 29, you will actually see. I'm in surround sound now. Amazing. Okay, so just by way of background, we did acquire it August 1st. We have taken possession of the property. We went through a process by sorting out a name because formerly FEI just didn't ring true to us. So temporarily, we went through the namings committee and we'd like to name it Sycamore Hill. Obviously, we'll have a donor opportunity in the future. Sycamore Hill was the chosen name because A, there are mature sycamore trees on the site, and it went through the namings committee, and this was the name that was recommended. Those are the 3 items. If there are any questions, happy to take them. We do plan to ask the board to come and tour Sycamore Hills, if you approve the naming today. In the spring semester, we are doing some minor repairs, upgrading some of the safety, security, IT assets. As you know, it will be home for SCPS and starting with the criminal justice program as well as our ROTC program in spring semester. So very excited. We have something later to talk about with respect to the city schools. As you know, they were disappointed in not getting this facility, but I think we found a wonderful win-win in working with the board and the leadership at UVA. But I'll stop there. These are the three consent items, Chairman. We would like a motion to approve the three
Yep.
consent items.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a second? Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Great. So next up, I'm going to turn it to the architect, Alice Raucher, and I'm going to run down the clicker as well.
I have one.
You got one. Oh, wow.
Great. All right, so thank you, JJ. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, everyone. The first item for your approval is the concept site and design guidelines for the School of Data Science Entrepreneurship Building. So as you may know, we've been working on the development of the Emmett-Ivy Corridor since the Board of Visitors approved the framework plan in 2016. Since then, we've brought a few projects proposed for this site to the board for approval, and for each project, we first ask for approval of its concept site and design guidelines. In 2019, you approved the site for the first project on the parcel, which was the School of Data Science, which opened in the spring of 2024. This past June, you approved a new project for the School of Data Science Entrepreneurship Building, and we're proposing Site 1B of the Emmett-Ivy Corridor for the project, as shown by the orange rectangle on the site plan. This site is directly west of the existing building, which will allow a physical connection to the school and is appropriately located in the Discovery Nexus as described by the Emmett-Ivy Task Force's report of 2019. In addition to the connection to the school, this site will allow the building to have a public face both on Ivy Road and the pedestrian promenade along the landscape linear green on the interior of the site. So I'll be bringing a proposal for the schematic design of the building to you at a future date, but for now, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask for approval of the concept site and design guidelines for the School of Data Science Entrepreneurship Building.
Do we have a motion?
Also move.
Second? Second. Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Go ahead, please.
Many thanks. So now the second item for your approval is the schematic design for the Center for the Arts. So for those of you who haven't been following this saga for years, and for those who have, I thought I'd just touch on this timeline to show how engaged stakeholders have been and how many milestones we have achieved to get us to this presentation to you today. This doesn't acknowledge the decades of studies that were conducted for a home for the arts on this parcel that predated the Ivy Corridor Framework Plan. This project got a jump start when the Cornell Foundation generously funded a study for the Performing Arts Center in 2018, which coincided with a study to co-locate our teaching museums as proposed by the college's arts program's vision and playbook in 2017. There had always been projects on the capital plan for an addition to the Bailey Building to enlarge the site for the Fralin Museum, as well as a new building on Culberth Road to house the music department, both difficult projects to construct and thus never got much traction. With the approval of the Ivy Corridor Framework Plan, the proposal for a creative arts nexus on this prominent site, and the generous gift of Tessa Ader for a new performing arts center, we began this project for the University of Virginia Center for the Arts. So I realize with all the construction going on, it's hard not to know where the Emmett-Ivy Corridor is. And of course, you did just approve the site for the SDS Entrepreneurship Building, but this location plan shows the site for the Center for the Arts, which is highlighted in orange, in a broader context. It's part of the 14-acre development that is situated down University Avenue from the Rotunda and the Academical Village, which coincidentally happens to also be roughly 14 acres. So this eastern end of the Emmett-Ivy Corridor is not only a prominent location along Emmett Street, but it's also provides an appropriate visual connection back to arts grounds. And you, of course, know the full master plan of the Emmett-Ivy Corridor that the board approved in 2016 and the projects that are either existing or in various stages of construction. The framework plan was designed with parcels framing a working landscape that collects stormwater for the district and links building with the 20-foot wide pedestrian promenade that you see highlighted by the yellow arrow. In June of 2024, the BOV approved the site for the new Center for the Arts, which will be home to the Tessa and Richard Ader Performing Arts Center, the Fralin Art Museum, the Kluge Gallery, and the college's Department of Music. While an important site for an important program, this building will also be part of an ensemble of buildings that are intended to create a collective sense of community, offering shared resources and building on our tradition of buildings and mixed uses in a harmonious relationship with the landscape. So this long section through the site looking north puts all the buildings on the Emmett-Ivy corridor in the context with each other. It's important to remember that there's another layer of buildings along Ivy Road that are not shown here, including the School of Data Science and the Entrepreneurship Building. The section begins at the left with the 11-story private development on the corner of Copley and Ivy Road, then moves to the right, our upper-class student housing, the Karsh Institute of Democracy, the Virginia Guest House, the proposed Center for the Arts, and the proposed private hotel development across Emmett Street before ending on the right in Culber Theater across from Cars Hill Field. The facade of the Center for the Arts is designed to tie into the horizontal datums created by the Karsh Institute and the Virginia Guest House, with the brick mass of the center stepping down towards Emmett Street and the large window of the Performing Arts Center centered on the pond and the open landscape. All the buildings on the Emmett-Ivy corridor have been designed with a transparent, welcoming ground floor to connect interior public spaces within the exterior pedestrian promenade to create a safe, active district. As shown in yellow on this X-ray illustration, the Center for the Arts will have an internal promenade on the ground floor that builds on these design guidelines and which will connect with the public-facing program in the School of Data Science, the Welcome Center and living room of the hotel, and the lobby of the Karsh Institute. That shared connection is again shown in yellow on this ground floor plan of the Center for the Arts and provides connected lobbies for the Performing Arts Center, the Music Department, and the combined UVA art museums. You can also see that although the public spaces will be connected, each program will be able to have an identifiable entry. That's a great aspect of this site. Another great aspect of the site is the adjacent parking garage, and there'll be direct access to the center from it. So that shared circulation happens horizontally in plan, but also vertically in section through the building. It's one of the reasons why this large building is actually very efficient in its ability to share program spaces as well as circulation. This section of the building, taken lengthwise, shows how the programs are arranged to take advantage of room adjacencies. It also begins to show the logic of the facade composition that you'll soon see. As we saw on the ground floor plan, while the collaborators efficiently share spaces in the Center for the Arts, it was important that each collaborator have a specific identity, and it was this principle that directed our redesign of this project from when we presented to you last December.
Alice, if I could, for just a minute, those members that were here over the last 3 or 4 meetings, when this was first presented, many members had a concern about scale. And I want to thank Alice and her team because we have gone over and over this and dealt with scale, dealing with the performing arts area, the art museum, separate entrances. It's scaled down, but still serves the purpose of classrooms, performance training, the actual event hall, art museum separate with the section in the middle. The section you see right here visually just separates the building and takes the visual scale down. There's been a lot of work. I want to thank Alice and her team because I think this now does reflect the university style. It's a little bit different than the lawn, but it works. And in your comments, because it finally dawned on me that there's a railroad right behind this building, and explain to us how the technique of bringing that noise down so it doesn't affect performances in the audience. Ellis, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your support and for the perfect setup that I'm going to get to here. I appreciate that. So the Tessa and Richard Ada Performing Arts Center is prominent in this view, with a large window putting the activity of the center on full display and centered on the amphitheater around the pond. To your left, you can see the glass-fronted link that not only provides an identifiable entrance for the college's music department, but importantly provides the visual break that Chairman Now was just referring to between the masses of the Performing Arts Center on the right and the museums on the left. Another positive change from your first review of this project is that we were able to lower the museum's galleries to lower floors, making them not only more accessible to the public, but also allowing us to have a glazed or windowed top floor. This was a great change in the design to have an illuminated and active top floor, as well as a transparent ground floor in the museum's wing. And here's that same view in the daytime. I think, as Chairman Now mentioned, the team has been successful in creating a building that is part of an ensemble that feels like UVA, yet creates an exciting civic presence appropriate for an arts center with a broad local and statewide outreach. So from this view, you can see how the transparent pedestrian promenade at the ground level connects all the program in the building. The glass link locks in the building into the broader site by aligning with the plaza in front of the School of Data Science and the bridge that connects the two across the green. Once again, it also provides an identifiable entry for the college's music department. Now moving to the west end of the building, you can see the prominent illuminated entry to the art museums from Rothery Road, which is the access into the garage. This entry is not only accessible from the promenade, but there's also a vehicular drop-off in the plaza between the guest house and the Center for the Arts. So this illuminated signage will be able to display the museum's names. This is just a placeholder at the moment, but it can also be used to highlight upcoming exhibits or be used for commissioned artwork. So now moving to the other side of the site, this view shows the building as a prominent identifiable marker of the Center for the Arts for those entering grounds from the north. It also shows the city's smart-scale pedestrian improvement along Emmett Street and the proposed pedestrian tunnel through the railroad embankment that will hopefully be under construction in the next few months. And I'll discuss the acoustic isolation in a moment. So this view from Emmett Street shows the continuation of the transparency of the lobby of the Center for the Arts at the ground level and the visual connection possible between the activity of the recital hall that you see on the corner with the frequent marching band practices on Cars Hill Field directly across Emmett Street. This is also the location for the bus drop-off, the ramp up to the pedestrian promenade at the stone wall, and the stage door entry on the right. So the team has continued the palette of materials that have been used in the district and across grounds. We're proposing brick to match the School of Data Science and using it in what we call a common bond coursing, which is found on many buildings around grounds such as the lawn rooms, Mem Gym, and O'Neill Hall. And that's usually 5 to 7 courses of running bond with a course of brick headers, but that's for us construction geeks. This will provide a rich texture on the brick facade. So the other materials for the colonnade and roof panels will be colored Swiss coffee to continue the white used in the academical village and around grounds, and the base of the building facing Emmett Street will continue the flagstone that is our landscape wall standard all around the district. So just a few more views to put the building in context. This one from Culberth Road on Arts Grounds to show the life and civic presence that the Performing Arts Center will bring to this prominent location. So keep this view in mind, please, as we move to the next slide, which is a cross-section through the main hall of the Performing Arts Center, showing the relationship to the overall district and the layering of the facade from the public realm of the amphitheater on the left through the public lobbies into the main hall. And then Chairman Now raised a great question earlier in the week, and I just wanted to mention that great care has been taken to acoustically isolate the performance spaces from the adjacent rail line. The proposed building features several vibration and acoustic isolation strategies, which are shown on this slide, that are designed to reduce both vibration and airborne noise from exterior sources and between interior spaces. We have renowned acoustical consultants on the team who conducted site vibration analyses specifically to review the ground vibration and airborne noise from the adjacent rail line for both passenger and freight trains. So in summary, these proposed strategies will mitigate the impact of the adjacent rail line to acceptable interior standards, which will allow the main hall to be adaptive to various formats, such as a performance by the University Singers or the Charlottesville Symphony, or the showing of films, perfect for the annual Virginia Film Festival, which will kick off again next month, or for UVA theater productions, the UVA Theater Festival, or touring Broadway shows, or a venue for our UVA dance performances, or the Charlottesville Opera or Ballet. So in closing, it's not hard to imagine an exciting opening night performance for the university and the broader community at the Tessa and Richard Ader Performing Arts Center. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'd like to ask for approval of the schematic design for the UVA Center for the Arts.
Well, I'll open it to any questions. There's a lot of work has gone into this, and again, I want to thank Alice and the team for many calls, many hours, and the tour yesterday. So any questions from the board? Okay, being none, is there a motion to approve the schematic design for the Center for the Arts?
I'll make the motion.
We have,
Approval.
thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, we have one more request for the board's approval related to the Center for the Arts. So UVA is seeking state support for the project, as you know, which we nearly received last year. JJ will cover this in more detail tomorrow in the Finance Committee meeting, but we are hopeful that we'll receive state funding in the 2026 General Assembly session. While the state funding for the project is pending, it is financially advantageous for the university to continue advancing the design, which will enable us to move quickly into construction and avoid further escalation costs if and when state funding is approved. So to support continued planning and design efforts, we request the board's approval for additional authorization of up to $5 million for the project. To date, planning and design work has been funded by the large philanthropic gift of $50 million for the project. If the board approves this additional authorization, that gift will continue to support these efforts. So, Mr. Chairman, we seek approval of this resolution, I think, which is on page 16 of the committee book.
Well, just a quick observation. This needs to be approved because we're right in the middle, and it wouldn't be a good time to stop it. But I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the additional authorization for continued planning and design for the Center for the Arts. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? I have a second. Thank you. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Alice, all yours.
Thank you so very much. This next item is for your review of the data center for the schematic, sorry, let me collect myself, it's emotional. This next item is for your review of the data center at the Fontaine Research Park schematic design. So just,
Let me
Yes,
inject
sir.
something. If the weather's right, at the next meeting, we're all going out there. You
correct.
can see this on paper, but until you're out there, you can't imagine the scale and the amount of work that's going in out there. So, Alice?
Perfect, thank you. So just to introduce the site for the Research Data Center, the Fontaine Research Park is just across Fontaine Avenue from West Grounds and near UVA Engineering and the health system. In September of 2018, the Board of Visitors approved a long-term master plan to guide near-term and long-term development of the research park. Over the past few years, the board has approved the sites for the Manning Institute of Biotechnology, the parking garage, the central energy plant, and improved roadway infrastructure, all of which are currently under construction or nearing completion. The board approved the site for the data center in 2024, which is labeled HPC on the plan, which stands for High Performance Computing. And later today, today I'd like to review the schematic design for the project for your review. So zooming in on the site plan, you can see the base building of the central energy plant, which is under construction, shown to the left with the ground floor of the proposed data center. The data center will begin with 2 megawatts of computing capacity with the ability to grow to 16 megawatts to support the Institute of Biotechnology and future buildings at Fontaine and provide world-class research opportunities for the university. The building is designed to accommodate multiple high-performance computing machines and other equipment, as well as a small amount of office space that you see in the colored bar on the right on the plan. So as we began thinking about a new research data center, not only did it make sense to locate it within our research park, but there was also an opportunity to locate it adjacent to our new zero combustion central energy plant. So here's an aerial view looking towards the energy plant, which is under construction, and the existing 500 Racy Hunt Drive building, which is on the right. And through the magic of Photoshop, here's the same view with the proposed data center. The facility is strategically located adjacent to the central energy plant to take advantage of industry-leading energy efficiency opportunities. Proximity to the energy plant allows it to leverage the data center's hot water output to meet park-wide heating demand. So this design illustrates, this slide, I should say, illustrates how the data center receives cooled water from the energy plant and returns waste heat back to the plant to be used for hot water heating for all buildings. The black dots represent the 100 geo-exchange wells servicing the energy plant. So the design of the data center itself is meant to complement the design of the energy plant as well as draw upon the existing materials of the adjacent buildings at Fontaine, specifically using brick and glass to denote the people space of the building and the zinc panels to clad the machine hall. Chairman Now has already suggested that the team look at continuing the brick around the full facade, much like the way you'll see in this next elevation. So as you can see, this north elevation continues the use of brick and glass at the pedestrian level and identifies the second floor level or the roof level through the use of the zinc cladding. So these materials are found on adjacent buildings at Fontaine, where the brick and precast concrete are used on the exterior walls, and zinc panels can be found on roof screens at the mechanical penthouses all around the park. So one last rendering view looking south towards the central energy plant in the distance. I'd appreciate hearing your comments, and we'll bring this design back to you at a future meeting. Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. As I said, weather permitting, we'll be going out there in December. Till you see the scale of the work, it's difficult to see it comprehended on slides. That's okay.
There's no motion. I'm just requesting feedback.
Yeah, I'm going there. Do we have a motion to approve the continued planning and design?
Yeah, at this point, we actually don't need a motion. We're just
That's
bringing
the one
this.
that wasn't on my script.
Sorry. We're
Go
just
ahead,
requesting
JJ.
feedback on the
Yeah,
design.
just if people have any feedback between meetings, we'll bring this back in December for final approval. I would like to say also we're exploring the addition of a third floor and working in concert with UVA Health. So there may be some additions potentially. So again, anything between meetings, let us know if you have any comments, questions, or concerns. Otherwise, we'll bring it back for approval in December. So Chairman, are you okay if I keep going?
Go
Okay,
ahead.
great. So Alice, thank you and your team for this incredible work. What we'd like to do next is to share some, oops.
I think I'm-
Oh, you're in charge.
Yeah,
Okay, you're
sorry.
driving.
One more
Perfect.
time. Just one more brief report. So for this report, I'd like to give you a brief update on two university properties. The first, the former Executive Institute, and the second, Oak Lawn. I know JJ touched on this, so I'll go through this very quickly. As you're aware, this past February, the Federal Executive Institute was eliminated by executive order. Operations ceased, and the buildings were vacated later that month. The university put forth an application to use the site for a combination of ROTC and public safety programs within the School of Continuing and Professional Studies. The site is approximately 13 acres, and there are 5 buildings with 88 guest rooms, 11 classrooms, conference spaces, areas, and dining rooms for a total of 92,000 square feet. The property was conveyed, as JJ mentioned, to UVA on August 1st, and a working group with key stakeholders across grounds have been on site and meeting regularly to facilitate all aspects of operations and programming, including initial security and technology operations, space planning efforts, etc. We're planning to have the classrooms operational for the spring semester and the balance of the property, including the residences, for August. And as of today, the property's new name is Sycamore Hill. Thank you. The team and I would be happy to answer any questions, or else I'll just move on to the next property. Yes, sir. Moving on?
Oh,
Correct.
in dealing with the grounds around the Sycamore Hill, are we looking at that?
Yes, we're doing a comprehensive review of the entire site, and we already have 24/7 safety and security, and we're installing upgrades and cameras to that area.
Thank you.
Very excited about this. Thank you. So next one is Oak Lawn, which is an historic 5.2-acre parcel on the corner of Cherry Avenue and 9th Street in Charlottesville's Fifeville neighborhood, adjacent to Charlottesville Middle School and the Smith Aquatics and Fitness Center. This location plan on the left shows the relationship of these properties to the lawn and the medical center, which are just north of the railroad tracks. The image on the right is an enlarged site plan of the property within the largely residential Fifeville neighborhood. We acquired Oak Lawn for $3.5 million in October of 2023. In 2024, UVA Health sponsored a planning study for the historic property, which explored how Oak Lawn could fulfill the site's historic preservation requirements while advancing community priorities and providing a location for child care facility. So Oak Lawn, as I mentioned, is a historically significant property, and its current 5.2-acre site is what remains of a much larger original 19th century plantation, with the main house dating back to 1822. The property is triple listed on the National Register of Historic Places, the Virginia Landmarks Register, and the City of Charlottesville's list of individually protected properties. Given the many financial priorities of the medical center and the fact that we are aware that the Charlottesville City Schools need additional property within the city to offer additional services to their students, and given the adjacency of Oak Lawn to existing city school property, the university proposes a long-term lease with an option to transfer ownership of the property to the city. The details of this proposal will be presented for approval in the Finance Committee meeting, and if approved, the university will include Department of Historic Resources restricted covenants in the lease and deed to protect the historically significant features of the property. So I'm sure JJ, Mitch, or I are happy to answer any questions, but there'll be more on this tomorrow.
If there are no questions, I just specifically want to thank the president, the dean, Stephanie Raleigh, who was instrumental in helping us work through this partnership, the board's support in encouraging us to find ways to continue to partner with the city, and our provost, Brink Gertler. So again, it was a Herculean effort by many, and really, and thanks to Mitch for bringing it forward to us as an alternative. So I think this truly is a win-win-win, and again, we look forward to bringing it through the Finance Committee for the lease and hopefully ultimate disposition of the asset to the City Charlottesville Schools.
Introduce Ben?
I'll be happy to.
Yes.
Okay, so next up is Ben, and you will, Hayes, who is our building official for the university. I cannot tell you how extraordinarily lucky we are to have Ben on the team, and that as a Tier 3 university, which means we have the greatest autonomy in the Commonwealth, we are allowed to have our own building code official and team on site working with us hand in hand through, as you've heard earlier, a $2 billion active capital construction plan right now. I've worked at other institutions where that's not the case, and I can simply tell you Ben and his team are incredibly talented, and it's incredibly both efficient and effective to have your own university building official with you day in and day out. So without further ado, Ben, take it away.
I'm happy just to leave it there, actually. That was. Yeah, thank you, JJ, Mr. Chairman. Over the next couple minutes, I just want to give you a high-level overview of the work of the Office of the University Building Official over the past year. We are a group of, in Alice's words self-professed construction, design, and engineering geeks. And in many ways, what we do year in and year out is the what happens next after you all approve projects. So the Center for the Arts project you'll see in my annual report in the next couple years as the design develops and moves into construction. My office reports up through the new Senior Vice President for Operations, and in an interesting twist in state law, I actually report to you all as the board, and so that's why every September you'll see my report in your material and a presentation from me. Our board is located on grounds, and as JJ said, we're only one of 3 higher education institutes in Virginia with this delegated authority. And because of this, I should advance my own slides. Sorry, that's the one I was talking on. We have a mission and vision that directly supports this unique place. I'm not going to read these, they're in your written materials, but it's also my strong opinion that our presence on grounds is of great benefit to the capital program here. The core of our business is the review of technical submittals and like this one here, I'll get into that in a minute, as well as the inspection of buildings under construction. So during many of the Buildings and Grounds committees, you will review, like today, the exterior massing, materials, siting, layout of buildings to make sure they fit into the context of this place. After your approval, my team, we begin reviewing all the mechanical, the electrical, architectural, fire alarms, stormwater, sprinkler, accessibility, cranes. Actually, we review the cranes as well to try to make sure they won't tip over. Everything behind that exterior. We review all the utility work that supports all the buildings and grounds. And what you're seeing in this image here is one floor plan of one building of nearly 600 pages of the permit submittal for the new upper class housing that is going along Ivy Road. That submittal also included 5,000 pages of specifications and calculations. And so we enjoy digging into that for a variety of reasons, but primarily making sure that it meets state and national codes. In any given year, we'll review close to 1,000 of these, although they're not all that large. And at the conclusion of our review, we issue building permits. For larger time-critical projects like this one, this is the Fontaine Energy Plant from a different angle, we will issue often an early site permit, sometimes a structural steel permit, and this is both to expedite construction as well as to help with procurement of materials so that we can get to market faster. This is something that's allowed by the code, not always taken by building departments, and it's one of the ways that I think we enhance the capital program at UVA. Because we're embedded within the university, we can be pretty responsive to our main customer, which is you all. And this is especially important in August when all of the projects are trying to wrap up before students come back. And I should say all of the labs and offices and the smaller work. Obviously, the capital work keeps going. As an example, we normally ask for 48 hours so we can maintain schedules with all the projects that are being done here. But in August, we'll often respond to inspection requests in 2 hours and sometimes in 20 minutes because we know that when our students come back, things need to be as operational as they can. Being on grounds means we also understand the university's priorities, not only with construction, but also with occupying new buildings. A lot of times units, schools, clinics want to move in part of a finished building while it's not entirely done. And we've gotten really good at evaluating projects for partial occupancy as long as the right life safety controls are in place. This is, of course, Shumway Hall, which received full occupancy in the spring of this year. And just last week, we approved the temporary certificate for occupancy of the Olympic Sports Center, which we'll all go to shortly here in a couple of hours. In conclusion, the broadest measure of our work is not any specific number of inspections or reviews, but rather this bottom number, the sort of size of the ongoing design and construction portfolio. It includes not only the capital program, but all of the smaller renovation work that happens in many ways below the radar every year, but which we also review and approve. The breadth of our work includes everything from Darden, this is the new Darden graduate housing project, to work undertaken by Rivanna Sewer and Water Authority on O Hill, everything in the health system and hospital, including ongoing renovations to the Encompass Rehab Hospital at Fontaine, and basically anything that is state-owned property with UVA's name on it. The College at Wise, Southwest Higher Education Center, clinics at Orange and Spring Creek, as well as facilities, research facilities on the Eastern Shore and Blandy. I'd be remiss not to note that beyond sort of this bread and butter work, our team, individuals on my team serve the university daily with many other ways. Teaching and volunteerism are pretty high among our group, and over the past year, we've helped train UVA's in-house apprentices in various ways. Some of our building inspectors who participate in state and national code committees, manage and edit the university's own design guidelines on the left. This is a 40-year-old living document that we solicit comments for every 3 years and update. We volunteer on clean water working groups and the Day of Caring, and even teach university classes. So thank you for your time. I'd be happy to take any questions if there are any.
Are there any questions? JJ?
If no questions, thanks, Ben, and thanks to you and your team for your exceptional work, particularly, and we had some really bumpy issues this summer, one in our child care center, and if it wasn't for Ben and his team, I'm not sure we would have been able to successfully remediate the issues in an expedited format. So thanks again, Ben. Okay, and next up, I am so eager and pleased to report that we have found an amazing new leader for UVA, Lois Stanley. She joined the team after a wonderful search by a comprehensive national search committee. She is our new Senior Vice President for Operations. She literally hit the ground running. She came in early August and actually started with move-in. So she joined President Mahoney and all the leaders as we were able to bring in the new first years and help move all their gear. It was a delightful, although a bit humid day, but she's hit the ground running. As you know, her portfolio includes all of the areas that you've heard today and other areas you have not yet seen, including parking, transportation, dining services, ID card office, printing, mail services, in addition to all the facilities, Office of the Architect, building code inspector, and a building official, and others. So she's amazing. She comes from Brandeis University, where she held a similar position by way of background. She's also done some amazing stints at Tufts University. She's actually grew up in Virginia Beach, so we are so thrilled to have her back in Virginia and now in Charlottesville. She's an avid biker in her spare time. But without any further ado, welcome, Lois, and would love for you to say a few remarks.
Thank you, JJ, and thank you, everybody. It's been a real learning experience to be here throughout this board meeting. I look forward to tomorrow as well. So thank you for that intro, but also I don't think I've thanked you for the opportunity to serve UVA as SVPO. In this morning's board meeting with the UVA Health, one of the new members of that leadership team referred to this being the pinnacle of his career. That's how I feel as well. This is a really great opportunity for me, and I hope to serve UVA as well as you just set me up for there. So I've received just quite a few warm welcomes, both here on grounds as well as across Charlottesville in my new neighborhood. It seems like in addition to daily acts of kindness, truly many acts of kindness I've received, I've discovered and I'm learning more about grounds each day. So obviously the Rotunda, there's buildings here that are amazing, like the Rotunda, the chapel, the design of contemplative commons, the new construction taking place at Fontaine and out at the Emmett Ivy corridor, just amazing. But there's also many very significant but smaller elements about this campus that I love already, and that is just yesterday in walking with Alice, we came across the Pratt ginkgo tree, right? To me, it was a tree. There's a story, and Alice shared it with me. There's even a Wikipedia page, and I looked it up. The memorial to enslaved people, very powerful. Let me see. Oh, and then my daughter and I, as we were coming back from the football game a couple of weeks ago, literally stumbled across this, the preservation of Edgar Allan Poe's dorm room here, and that was tremendous. It was a great moment for the both of us. I like that UVA does that. I like that I'm going to be a part of that. But in addition to the beautiful grounds, one of the world-renowned grounds, and the kindness that I expected in Virginia, what really tipped the scales for me in coming to UVA was the excellence of the leadership team and operations that was brought together by my predecessor, Colette Sheehy. Truly, truly excellent, and specific to Buildings and Grounds are the three folks here who together and with their teams are the stewards of UVA grounds, and they do obviously a tremendous job. I am seeing in my first few weeks here best practice. I'd like to say in everything I see, but I just haven't seen everything yet, but it's really impressive. The resources, like this board, and the staffing and the product that comes out of this team. I'm just privileged to be joined by such an A+ team, and Ben, Alice, and Don. In fact, we'll be able to show off their work in upcoming meetings. As Chairman now was referring to, we expect to be able to do tours of upcoming capital projects and in-process capital projects. And those will be, as I said, at upcoming board meetings. So with that, I'm looking forward to meeting all of you. I've met a few of you today and in the last week or so, and working with you as the SBPO. Thanks.
I just wanted to say, on behalf of myself and Dr. Okonkwo, we love having another Virginia Beach native on. And Lois and I determined at lunch that we're both proud alumni of Lynn Haven Junior High School on Old Donation Road in Virginia Beach.
Well, now you brought up Virginia Beach, I think that everybody in the room should know that when you were 18 years old, you did not understand that Charlottesville's closer to Virginia Beach than Blacksburg.
Yeah, that must have been the new math at that time.
And she did confess that when it comes to the game,
Turn it over to
she's
Don.
going to root for her alma mater.
Orange.
Don, why don't you bring us up to date on the cranes?
Thank you, Chairman. Now, we're out of time, I recognize that, so we'll move through this quickly. And are we not?
You have a half an hour, Don.
We got plenty of time.
Don't give him half an hour.
Okay, then. So, Chairman, now, do much appreciate your comments earlier about the amount of work that's going on right now. And really, a lot of thanks to our UVA teams, as well as our design and construction partners along the way, too. I'd like to take the opportunity right now to introduce Mark Stanis, our Director of Capital Construction and Renovation. And also, I want to pile on what JJ said about Ben Hayes and his folks. JJ's seen a lot of units before. I've seen a lot of units before. And there's none that have matched Ben and his team in attitude and in having a really positive impact on our processes. They're enablers, not regulators. And it's been so very helpful. And they also, with their inspection, ensure that we get a quality product, because we cannot turn it over to just the practitioners, the contractors and all, to ensure a quality product. Ben's people ensure the quality product. So, going through this, we're going to talk about 8 projects, 3 on Ivy Quarter, they're in the yellow, 3 down south at the Fontaine Research Park, and 2 at North Grounds. In total, those account for about $1.2 billion in total project value. You'll notice as I go through, I'll mention completion times. They are all going to be complete by the end of 2027. We'll start on Ivy Quarter. You saw the renderings and Alice provided before, and this is a similar shot looking west from Emmett Street. You can see the completed School of Data Science on the left, and toward the right, going down the corridor, is the Virginia Guest House, and beyond it, under construction, is Karsh. These drone shots are about 2 weeks old, and if you've been by there, as John was yesterday, a lot of progress has been made in the last 2 weeks. The Karsh Institute of Democracy, you can see the precast going up on the outside. It will be complete by the end of calendar 2026, or just a little bit over a year from now. And the Virginia Guest House, it's going to be complete just after the first of the year, January, February timeframe, aligned with the intent of the UVA Foundation and their operator to open it for business. And we're communicating, Mark and his people are communicating closely with them all along the way. And this is two shots of the site of the upper class housing on the west end of Ivy Quarter. The picture on the right, you can see it between Virginia Guest House and Karsh, is the one building, Building E, coming up out of the ground. Then on the left is a site for the other two buildings actually connected, buildings F and G, that will go along the railroad tracks and then come down along Copley. And across the road, across Copley, you can see the construction of the Bloom. That's the up-campus development project that's going to have some 630 rooms, something like that. So ours here at Ivy Quarter slated to have 780, I said rooms, I meant beds, 780 beds. So if you combine that with what you're going to see in a minute at Darden, plus the two proximate developer properties, this one and the Verb over at Stadium and JPA, there's a total of about 3,000 beds scheduled to come online for 2027, for the academic year 2027. Then out of North Grounds Parking Garage. We were by that yesterday, and it's making just great progress. It's expected to be complete next fall. Right now, October, November, right now is looking to be a few months ahead of schedule, but we'll wait and see how that comes out. But it's going very, very well. And the Darden School of Business student housing, made up of 3 buildings, two of them connected. It's got 340 beds, and as I mentioned, slated for completion for academic 2027. And then Fontaine Research Park. This is looking north. You can see the Spine Road coming in down the center from Fontaine Boulevard. And you can see the garage, New Fontaine Garage at the left, and the Biotech Institute on the left as well. The garage, 1,200 cars. It opened yesterday. Yeah, it opened yesterday. And that's, if I remember, Mark, that's 2 months ahead of schedule?
2 months ahead of schedule, yes.
Yeah, 2 months ahead of schedule and well below budget as well. It was a very successful project. And the Manning Institute of Biotechnology, 350,000 gross square feet. The steel erection began March, April timeframe, and it will be complete with the topping out ceremony next month in October. And we'll begin the building envelope also about a month from now, and then begin the fit out of the interior space a year from now, and the phase 1 interior space will be ready for occupancy in the fall of 2027, the magic year. And the energy plant that was mentioned previously. You might remember when we presented this energy plan a couple of years ago, we talked about an initial cost premium with a 10 to 12 year payback because it was going to be combustion free. It's supported by heat recovery chillers, and as Alice mentioned, the geo-exchange wells to make it an all-electric plant. The plant is sized right now to be able to handle the Biotech Institute, but then for the future to also be able to be coupled up with the data centers Alice talked about, as well as take over all the buildings at the Fontaine Research Park as their individual building systems live out their life. We'll turn around and hook them up to this plant. So at some point in time, not too distant future, maybe 10 or 12 years, the entire research park will be managed by this combustion-free energy plant. And that's all I have. Thank you very much. Thank you, Paul.
Don, to the board, any questions of Don?
Can I ask one question? That Darden housing project, maybe this isn't a construction question, but maybe for JJ. Do you have to be a Darden student to live there? Like, for example, if a law student wanted to live there, is that a possibility or is it restricted?
So preference will be given first to Darden students, but they do anticipate having additional occupancy. And then obviously, given the proximity, the law school will probably be a priority. There's also joint MBA, JD degrees, so they will also be preferenced.
Okay, thanks.
And a follow-up on Darden, while we were there yesterday, because I've talked to Don Ellis about this, there is a focus on security from the parking lot into the dorms. I want to thank you all for that, because that's the one element of risk. Don, to you and your entire team, it just, to me, it's incredible how you're keeping so many balls in the air, let alone all the cranes in the air. And your legacy is all the buildings that are going up. So, on behalf of the committee, I say thank you to both you and Alice for doing all this. We're grateful. Are there any other issues before the committee? Being none, meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're going to take a break till 3:30 when we'll start academic and student.
I had a schedule.
Thank you.
I was thinking we're 2 to 2:45.
Oh, no, you had lots of stuff.
Oh, so you're happy?
That's my house.
We filled up another half an hour.
I'm relieved.
Oh, because this
I used to, no, I used to walk.
Thanks for your support.
Every project we just.
I said last week, it was significantly
Oh, you my friend.
It's a better building.
You been out there lately?
As has happened.
Oh, and it goes all the way back to the corner.
And
the
as has so
railroad track.
happened.